Hi there, this is Josh Sachs doing my premiere episode of Getting to Know Your Local Pros. Today I have the current Ontario Provincial Champion and Thought Space Athletics sponsored Thomas Gilbert. Just going to bring him on. Hi there, Thomas.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Pretty good.
Anything interesting happening this week, or just getting ready for the holidays?
Kind of getting ready for the holidays. Up here in Port Severn, actually, right now, at my parents' cottage, and the lake just froze enough that you can walk on it about 100 feet or so. So, was out there, threw a couple discs out on the ice today, and yeah, it's kind of some of my favorite winter memories is throwing discs, just launching them out into the lake.
So they say a little colder up there than it is in Toronto at the moment, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, snow on the ground or just cold?
Yeah, we got probably about 4 inches of snow.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to start off and really ask, what brought you to disc golf? How did you find the sport?
Yeah, so I was going to high school at Lawrence Park in North York in Toronto, and one of my friends one day just asked me if I wanted to go play some disc golf with him. He knew that I enjoyed playing golf and as well as at the time playing ultimate frisbee, so he thought, disc golf would be a perfect fit. And yeah, he was definitely right. He brought me up to the course, and then I think we went like couple times a week the very next couple weeks after that, and so got into it very quickly, and then just like as I got addicted, progressed really quickly.
So that, I guess, the casual rounds turned into tournament rounds at one point. So
Yeah.
you start. I guess I'm assuming you started locally, just with the Ontario scene.
Yeah, I just started locally. Actually, the first tournament that I played on the PDGA sanctioned events was the Midland Summer Solstice, which is probably the course closest to my cottage here, and that was I think in June 2016, which was also like about 6 months after I started playing disc golf, and yeah, it was really fun. I actually signed up in MPO because all the M divisions had already filled up, and it was definitely a dive headfirst into the tournament scene.
This sounds about as much time as I spent before I got myself into tournaments. So I started back December 2020. I'll admit it, I'm a COVID baby. And I think my first tournament might have been May of 2021.
Yeah,
so
sounds pretty good.
Although in fairness, I started in M2 and I'm still in M2. Just hey, if I could be in the middle of the pack and occasionally the top third, I'm happy. I'm enjoying myself, so can't complain there. So at one point you moved on. Did you start touring before or after you started with Innova?
So I went for like half a season in 2018, just to like see if I could do it. And so I played probably about 10 or so tournaments in the States, and a lot of them were some of the tour events, and I really just wanted to see like how I'd kind of fare against the tour scene, and was able to actually cash at probably about half of those tournaments, and as well, I won my first A tier in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Actually against a couple well-named pros now, like Kyle Klein and Andrew Marweed, back when they were like just little kids as well. And that kind of like, I think really got me going, thinking that like, okay, this is something that I feel like I can really be successful at. And I think as well as a huge part of getting Innova to recognize me, to sponsor me for that next season.
And while you were, and while they sponsored you, do I remember correctly, you toured around with Nate and Big Germ?
Yeah. So I traveled with them quite a bit. I kind of got to know Nate a little bit in 2018 because he was one of my favorite pros, and so I kind of got to know him, especially near the end of that season. And then I think right at the beginning of the year, like 19 Las Vegas Challenge. I stayed with Nate and like played all the practice rounds together, and really got to know him more. And then kind of like throughout the season, stayed with them a bunch of times, and kind of continued even throughout like switching sponsors and stuff. I'll usually stay with Nate and Germ like occasionally on the tour.
So yeah, you mentioned 2019. It's actually I was looking over your career wins and noticed an interesting pattern, almost Paul Macbeth-esque with the Ontario Championships,
Oh
where
yeah,
you seem to win like every other year.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, because I won
19, 21, and 23.
Okay, nice.
I mean, in the middle, you took the Canadian Championships in 2022, so
Yeah,
that's that's pretty good. So you mentioned the move on. So you moved on from Innova to Prodigy. Was that a big change for you? Was that something they approached you about, or you just wanted something a little bit different than what you were getting from Innova?
yeah. So it was quite an interesting kind of point in my disc golf career. It was like the first time that a few different companies had reached out to me near the end of the off, or like the end of the season, beginning of the off season, and really wanted to try to be competitive to try to get my sponsorship for the next year. And negotiations went back and forth a little bit, and at the end of the day, Prodigy was able to offer like a significant chunk more than Innova. So I thought it would be good to try something new and exciting, and switch it up and go to Prodigy. And yeah, it was a good like experience. Like switching the discs was definitely like a small learning curve, but then once you kind of like find what works for within each company, then it's pretty standard. But it's just kind of like learning what discs work best for like especially the arm speeds of like the top tier pros. But then yeah, same sort of thing with ThoughtSpace. It took me a little bit of time to find like exactly which discs and runs I like the best there. But as well, it was nice with ThoughtSpace. I had half the open bag, so I could kind of stick in some of my staples from Innova back in the day, and then also some discs that I had leaned on from Prodigy.
So actually, mentioning Prodigy, I actually have one of these. I don't know how well it's showing up, but
Oh
the
yeah,
Huck
yeah,
face stamp.
nice. Yeah.
So was that something you came up with? Was that something they came to you and said, we think this is something that's marketable? What do you think? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so there was like a deal within my contract that I could get like a certain amount. I think it was like around 200 to 300 discs, just custom stamped whatever I wanted to do in that year. And I know a lot of people have always kind of remarked on my Huck face, and so I just chose one of the best pictures that I could find of my Huck face, and sent it to like a graphics illustrator, and they kind of turned it into a stampable design, and then they sent that to Prodigy and stamped it up on quite a few different discs. And yeah, now that's one of the Huck face discs that I had made.
So is the deal for that disc similar or really different to what you have with ThoughtSpace in terms of the Coalesce and I guess most recently the Numa?
Yeah, so the Coalesce and Numa are more similar to the like Signature D2 and the Signature FX2 that I had with Prodigy. And then the like Huck face stamped, and then there's like a few other little small custom stamps that I did with Prodigy, which is more similar to like I have like a logo of mine with a galaxy swirl on some of the ThoughtSpace discs. I had that like War Elephant stamp as well earlier this year, and I think a couple like one other design that we had done, which is like kind of we're choosing a small batch of like 300 discs to just do that stamp on only those 300, and that's it. And then the Numa and the Coalesce were like released, and you could get them at like any of your like local retail stores or online disc golf shops and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, I like the design of the Numa. It kind of brings back like an old man winter type vibe.
It does,
Just
yeah.
just the way the picture looks. Maybe it's stuff I used to read and watch, but that's kind of the vibe I get out of it. It's
Mhm.
really I haven't had a chance to use it. I've thrown it a couple of times when other people have brought them out, but I mean, I like my P2s. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, definitely. Putter is definitely a feel based kind of disc where you like it or you don't, and whatever is the most comfortable in your hand is what you should probably go with.
So a couple last points before we get to the little fun round. Any big off-season plans for this year? Something you're working on in terms of maybe form, shots, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I have kind of been working on revamping or redoing my backhand form because especially near, I mean, the whole season almost last year, because I remember even at the very beginning of the year, I had some issues with my backhand where just the timing of my pull through was so bad, and usually it would cause me to early release most shots, but it was so bad to the point where I couldn't even like think enough to try to fix it. Like no matter what I tried to do, it was just coming out early and like messing up my timing super bad. And so I've really tried to like break down and refocus my backhand to be more efficient, more repeatable, to be able to really be able to hit my lines consistently next year. Because I think that really held me back. I mean, my rating from the end of the 2022 season to the end of this season went from I think like 1028 to I think I'm 1011 right now. So it affected me really bad because backhand was at one point the absolute strength of my game, above putting, forehands, upshots, anything. My backhand like driving was my best asset in my game, and so losing that has really been tough on the play, and so I'm definitely focusing on getting that back this offseason.
It's great. And so, what kind of goals do you have set for yourself for next year? Or do you have any at this point? Is it and just kind of play it by
Um,
ear?
this at this point, it's kind of play it by ear. I think like just trying to make sure I nail that down because I think that will help me achieve a lot more of the things that I kind of want to be able to do. But if I kind of like lose focus of what I'm doing right now, then it's not going to be as strong when I actually enter the season. So, I mean, the events that I kind of have marked out for my tour schedule next year has also been something that I kind of wanted to do. I tried to lean slightly away from just focusing on only like Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series. So I'm like playing, I think, like 6 events in Canada, and I'm not actually as quite a big of a Europe swing as I thought I was going to, just because some of the West Coast swing and like the TCO and BC Open are kind of in that perfect chunk of Europe that also like overlaps each other. So I'll be, I think, sticking in BC for 3 weeks instead of heading to Europe early. But besides that, just yeah, playing some events that I know that I'll enjoy and kind of trying to skip some of the ones that I thought were necessary to be successful on the pro tour, but I've kind of learned it's not actually important to force myself to
Mhm.
go.
Are you upset? I don't know if upset's the right word, but that the Silver Series isn't a thing anymore going into next year.
I'm not too upset at it just because I think it was another series of events that kind of put a lot of pressure on touring pros to try to hit so they could get as many points as possible. It's really unfortunate that a bunch of the Silver Series events that were really, really good aren't on the tour anymore because there's probably a handful of silver events that I would have loved to have stayed on the tour, but they cutting the Silver Series out and only adding, I think, maybe 1 or 2 of the Silver Series to Elite. A bunch of good tournaments kind of got cut from the tour.
Excited to start in Florida though, as opposed to Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be heading down to Florida. I believe sometime mid-January, around January 14th is when I kind of plan on starting the drive down to Florida, which is going to be a very long drive, but will be very nice to get back down to nice warm weather, and as well with the events starting down in Florida, including the All-Stars now going to be at the same course as the Chess.com Invitational. It'll be exciting to get down to Florida because where I'm staying is about an hour away from the Paul's new course, and so I'll be probably playing that course quite a bit to warm up for
The throw down the mountain one, or he has
throw down
another
the
one
mountain
down
course.
there?
Yeah. I know it's called something else now, and I forget the exact name of it, what the renamed course is, but that course is fantastic. I look forward to playing it a bunch.
So, just before we go, we're going to get a few fun questions out of the way. So, favorite person or pro to play a casual round with?
Probably Nate Sexton. Or Calvin. Actually, I don't know. Calvin snuck in there the last few years because he's just so funny, and as well, his game I think is a little more fun to watch than Nate's. So I mean, playing with Calvin is definitely always a blast too.
How dare you say those things about Nate Safton? Favorite course that you've played up to now?
I think it's still got to be Maple Hill. I think just what they've done with that property is unlike anything else I've ever played.
A bucket list course somewhere you haven't played yet that you're looking forward to?
I think there's a course in, I think it's Idaho, maybe. I don't know exactly what state it's in, but it's called Caliber, I think, or Excalibur. It's one of the top-rated courses in the world, and a lot of touring pros say it's their number one course, and it's just been a little bit out of the way. So I hope to get out and play it sometime, but I heard it's amazing.
Did you get a chance this year to play the New London course at any point you were going through those areas?
I played it on the way down from Maple Hill to Charlotte, so I was able to get a full round in and see the course, and it's quite amazing. It's more Canadian type forest to W.R. Jackson, because it's a lot of oak and maple and types of those types of trees, but it has very long, wide fairways and fair rough, and as well just creates a really good challenge in the woods. You have to be very accurate for a long distance to be able to score there.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen all the foundation videos they've done there, and it looks, from an amateur standpoint, it looks intimidating. I'm curious to see the World Championships go through there and kind of what we get out of it.
For sure.
And then if you could play with any three other people, either now, back 20 years ago in their prime, what would your dream foursome be, and where would you play that round?
Ooh, I think I would probably play. I think Calvin and Nate are still in that grouping. I want to say probably Paul Macbeth as well, and on the old Yarva course before it got taken down by construction crews and changed into a shorter 18 holes. It was this magnificent best course in the world, full 18 holes, and everyone that I ever heard play it has nothing but good things to say about it. So I wish I could have been there before it got tweaked, but I think that's the course that I would want to go play.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. Always great chatting with you, and best of luck as you go towards next season.
All right. Thanks so much, Josh.
Thanks.